Good morning and welcome to edition of the fifth quarter sports talk show. I'm one of your co-hosts today, Tommy Hernandez, filling in for the great Tyrone Johnson and Danny Neal. They're out in Henderson, Nevada, in coaching a basketball tournament out there. So I'll be one of your co-hosts today, and I'm joined by Jackie. Good morning,
Hey,
Jackie.
good morning. Hey, good morning, Jackie
How are
Jacquarelli.
you?
Oh goodness, excited. Just after the holiday, that whole holiday blackness, I guess, is after. You don't know what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to be, but just glad to be here this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope everybody had a great Christmas as we prepare to kick off a new year. Any New Year's resolutions for you?
Oh goodness, lots more sports. The show
Absolutely.
included.
Yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. We have some goals for the show. Hopefully we continue growing and doing great things and continue having great guests. Uh
Absolutely. I think one of mine is maybe trying to get more local folks, more NPA, more like bases and the Yetis, and
yeah,
just yes, expanding out and just making it
abs
grow.
absolutely. Actually, took some notes about basis. They have a kid over there, Evan, that lettered in six different sports, which is a city record. So I'd love to get Evan on. If anyone knows Evan, shoot us his contact information. Lettering in six different sports is pretty amazing. So
Wow.
we'd love to have him on and learn how he does it. So
Can you
um,
just imagine his Letterman jacket? It's like here
right,
and there and there, even on this hood.
yeah,
Goodness. Oh my
all the way
goodness.
down the sleeves and
Yep.
But speaking of great guests, we have an extra special guest today. Um, Mr. Cliff Johns. I actually met Cliff in about 2021 when Rain Honani was coaching AAU, and we had some local Coconino boys on there, Mitchell, Preston, Jake Begay, um, and I think there was a few more, but they're playing AAU and they combined with Cliff, and Cliff came in and took the reins and really guided these kids, and it was amazing to hear someone that had been through it and came from a small town and played big time basketball. So let's bring on Mr. Cliff Johns. Round of applause. Morning, Cliff. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today.
You're
How's everything
welcome.
going?
Everything's going good. In mid-season right now, I'm sure everyone's excited coming off the break. Just to really see what the outcome's going to look like. So it's like that around here. So
Absolutely. Before we kind of get into where you're coaching now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Your upbringing and what got to where you are now.
yes, of course, named Cliff Johns, originally from northern Arizona, a little small community called Forest Lake. Did my upbringing there. Went to high school in Winslow. That's where I really started to show my interest in basketball. And then, of course, everything took off from there. And went to NAU. Tried walking on there at one point, but didn't happen. So I just basically continued down to the University of Arizona. And then things started to happen there as well. Just a local home kid in northern Arizona. Um, Currently, right now, I reside in Gallup, New Mexico, and I got three boys. Um, they're playing two of them playing college basketball. Then I got a youngest in high school that wants to follow in their footsteps.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you're talking. So you're a alumni Bulldog, correct?
Correct.
Yep. So what year did you graduate?
Back in 1988.
Wow. Yeah.
And we had some fierce coaches back then. So, I think just the whole fundamental aspect of basketball was really implemented back at that time. And of course, today it's still like that. But nothing's changed when it comes to fundamental. So I mean that's always as is. So I'm very fortunate. I was under some real good coaches at that time, which are they're no longer here. But
Right.
those are some of the teachings that I really was inspired from and really established my coaching aspect of things.
Yeah, Winslow's pretty big town for basketball. Everything
Yeah.
shuts down Friday night basketball.
Yeah, I mean, when you mention Winslow basketball, you think of the great Coach Petronovich, and
Mhm.
a lot of great coaches and players have come from Winslow, um, and it's awesome to hear that they made such an impact in your life and helped you get to where you're at. Um, I know the story when you got to U of A is so interesting and inspiring. How actually did you get onto the U of A basketball team?
Wow, that's that was a whole process. That was kind of basically unraveling. One of the main things that on my part was I wasn't done yet. I really wasn't
Right.
done playing yet. After I didn't walk on at the at Northern Arizona University, because there was a coaching swap that happened. Things were promised before, but things didn't pan out. So I started to look at more or less what I wanted to start to do in terms of what I wanted to do as a profession. So that's when I started to get into architecture. So I started to look at various programs in the state and out of state. I had KU in mind. I had University of Arizona in mind, of course, ASU as well. So those were the three schools I was looking at that time. But I chose U of A because of the program there. I think the main focus was really just try to get into the program there at the University of Arizona, the architecture program. So I started to really engage in that. So from that, of course, when you're in it, just time set aside to you would say just a downtime, go out, play. I started to really get back into basketball. I really started to get back into that sport at that time. And, I just started to really put more time into it, not really knowing what's going to happen. But I just love that sport. I think that's the main thing.
Right.
While you're in the intramural program, you just really just keep playing. I mean, that's just something that you so love so much that you just keep doing it. So it came at one point where the coaches were there at the rec center one early fall season, and I was just in a pickup game. I was there, right place, right time. Really intense game because you got a lot of good players there too that are playing in intramurals that didn't really go and play college basketball. You got a lot of JUCO transfers that went just
Right.
came there to go to school, so they were still competitive. So there was a really high intense game that morning. And it just so happened that some of the coaching staff were there for a meeting. They saw the tense game once the meeting concluded. They peeked their head in the door. They were watching, and things happen. And one of the assistant coaches was really, really struck on terms of what I was doing, what I was performing, how I was playing. Um, he was given a they gave the business card over to one of the staff there. So when the game concluded, that staff with the individual there went ahead and gave the card over to me, and it just so happened that individual was the director of Native American Resource Services there. Her name was Debbie Norwood, and she said, "Here, Cliff, this is what a coach gave to you." And I thought she was joking. I thought she was joking.
Right.
I thought it was a prank or something like that. And she goes, "No, no, 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 it is, it is, it is." I'm like, "Are you serious?" So I did look at it. It was a Jim Rosborough business card, University men's basketball. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So and things rolled from there. I gave him a call. They invited me down to McHale. Things weren't promised, but they just want to take a look at me. They want to see how I fit in with the team there. So basically, walking on is like approaching a new family. There's a new structure. There's a different structure there. People have their own little areas, and so it's just more or less really adjusting to a new family. That's the kicker there. That's if you make it or not, really.
Right.
If they accept you, coaches have nothing to do with it. It's just they throw you out to the wolves and players and see how you do. So, but I did well. I did good. I held my own. A lot of stuff that I've been really looking at, working on before. I got to see that, and it was amazing too because you're amongst players that you see on TV prior.
Right. Right.
Like I see these
Yeah.
guys, wow, and you see them play, you see them move, and those are the things I had to really learn and adjust to. So, um, long story short, the first home game, I didn't. There was no congratulatory. There was no like, hey,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I just walked into the locker room and I had a locker. I had
Wow.
jersey, I had shoes, I had a little chair, all the goodies that come with it. Everything
Yeah.
was there. Had my name on my jersey. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I sat there, shed some tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this
Yeah.
what it is? So it was a good blessing and able to accomplish that. And I just got on the phone, called my family, and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." Everybody was in a little shock. I'm like, "What? Really?" So that's how that process happened. So I was spotted, out of nowhere, and and the whole thing behind is really just really keeping your dreams alive, never giving up, having that hope, in what you want to do in your dreams, and just really stick to it. Really stick to it. So just a real good little journey story there.
So I
Wow. That.
have to ask. That sounds like every sports movie,
Right.
Hoosiers, Glory Road. Oh, the whole. But during this time, you actually played for. Oh, well, I'm going to say it, and then we're going to go. Oh, it's going to get all glittery here. You played for Lute Olson, did you not?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. So you were right in the Lute Olson era of U of A basketball. So when you met him, how did that feel that first time that you're like, wow, there he is?
I think that first practice that started to happen. All assistant coaches, I definitely got to know, got to meet. But Coach Olson wasn't around. It was kind of like a big introduction or something like that. He's going to be walking in. The anticipation was like that. Every practice, every preseason. I've just seen him from afar, but when that one practice happened, boy, it was just like a big old grand entry. Here he comes. And even
Wow.
the players can feel that. Oh my gosh, here comes coach. I'm like, what, really? So then seeing him there, I'm like, oh my gosh, and it was business. He had a whole practice plan going. This is what we're gonna do, just how we're gonna do it, and everything just rolled from there. And then, of course, he pulled me aside and say, "I understand you're 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 new here, and I understand that you're from Northern Arizona." I said, "Yes." So it took a while. I think it took a while for him to really understand that. But in the end, I think towards in some of our travels, when we were traveling to Washington, when we were traveling to Oregon, I think for him it finally clicked. And he called me over on the plane and he sat me down and he goes, "Weren't you at my basketball camp at one time in high school?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, I remember you. He goes, "Okay." So that's how we kind of reconnected. I think going to his basketball camps in the mid 80s down there in Tucson. I think that kind of recollected with him. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, so that is okay. I remember you now." So those are the things that some of the connections that I had with Coach Olson at that time. So he was, and then from that time he was really understanding. He kind of knew where I came from. He was really looking out for the best interests, not only in basketball, but in my degree that I was really focusing on. Um, and then there was times he was very, very disciplined on the court. And I got an earful at times, and trying to play with the top point guards that they had, Damon Stoudemire, Khalid
Mhm.
Reed.
Uh,
So those those are the times that I had to really get an earful from him, just to really learn how to play at their level.
You just
Absolutely.
like you
Wow.
just described he's like your Che, your basketball Che.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like
exactly.
the point at you, yeah, come over here, yeah, thanks, kind of thing. That's really
So
cool.
yeah, definitely. I think what's inspiring to me is that, you kind of went through a challenging moment at NAU, kept the dream alive, and you were just playing out of passion, out of love for the game when you got recognized, which, which is awesome. I mean, you weren't there for a tryout. You just love basketball. You're just playing hard, doing your thing, and someone recognized that passion and that
Hmm.
drive that you had, which is super special, super rare. Timing, everything took place. Um, so you had your eye on U of A since a youngster, huh? So you went to the
Hmm.
camp trying to get recognized.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of nice how it all came together towards the end. Not only at that time, but also, just I think for my family's purposes, that we really got to know the coaches, and it's a lifetime, getting to know those coaches and being able to remain in contact with them. So it's become at that point, even to the point where, I had my son down at Pima Community College, and there was a lot of that discussion down there too, in terms of my son playing down there and, following the footsteps of their dad. So you have that too. Not only that too, I have a older sister. Her name's Alicia Johns. Her daughter played at Pima too.
Okay.
And it just so happens that, the Jim Rosborough that spotted me once upon a time is the assistant coach there at Pima Community College. So, being able to come full circle like that too with the family is really special. Having my niece, Matea, Earbilly play down there and being coach under Coach Rosborough is something real nice, because you get to see that, you get to see what was laid down, and you'll get to see a coach coaching your niece, and also talking to your son about, how to be a good shooter, how to be a good perimeter player. You get a lot of that too. And I've got to see that. And it's very special in how the family is connected with the program down there, and we're still connected today. Just really checking on one another, seeing how things go. So those are the things that's really special too as well.
So really, that sounds beautiful, and just it's awesome that you're still probably sending Christmas cards and keep it in touch. Can you tell us a little bit about the student athlete part of the game? Because obviously there you were shot out, but what happens when the student has to perform in the classroom? Can you unpack that for us?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I got a lot of good stories in terms of how a big program like that, like Coach Olson's program, they were top 10 in the nation at that
Yeah.
time. But I think classroom wise, I mean, let me give you a real quick schedule situation. 8 o'clock, you got to be on campus. 7:30, got to be on campus. You got to get there. There's a little area where we all gather to have breakfast, and we got to sign in at that time, and then we go to class. And then we're in class up until about 2 or 3. Then we're all back at McHale, preparing for practices, weights, and then training tables. But there was a whole system like that. And I think the times that we had to check in, when you're not there, you got to deal with Coach Olson. If you're not in class, managers, they go to classes. Managers, they're out looking for your classes, and they're going there and they're peeking their head in the door, making sure you're in there. So, and they check off, and they do that. They do that. They make sure you're on campus, that you're eating and you're going to classes. And and of course, that's the thing, that if you didn't make your classes or you didn't show up, you have to, deal with Coach Olson why. And so there was a disciplinary measure there at that time, and in terms of just trying to be on campus and go and get to class. So those are the things that there was some of the areas like that. For
How about
for being an architecture student at that time was a little different, because architecture is a demanding program itself,
Yeah.
and a lot of late nights, work and studying that had to happen. Then all of a sudden, the next day you're back at Coach Olson's big program too as well. So you have two big demanding programs that I had to learn to balance.
what do you do about a lab?
I think one of the just a real quick insight too. I had supportive architecture program staff. The staff there, the dean was very supportive, and I think a lot of my teachers there, professors, were very understanding about that. Having an architecture student be part of the men's program was like, whoa, okay. So they had to make some adjustments on my part in terms of the class schedules. One of them was my design core, my design class, which takes like a whole 6 hours, a whole half a day, Monday through Fridays. So we had to adjust that because I didn't have time to be there and also be at McHale. So we had to, they came to some sort of agreement where I can take that in summer, but you can go ahead and just take your basic electives and your 3 hour classes, as normal. So there was some of that there too. And of course, you got to hook up your professor. You got to hook up your dean too with tickets. And that was a good that was the good thing about that. I mean, getting tickets. You would get 6 tickets. I'll get some of my family, and a lot of times I had tickets. I'm like, who wants to go?
Right.
And so I'll be in the student union. Like, hey, I got some tickets. You guys want to go? And it's just, oh, sure. So that was part of that luxury of having that. And of course, the architecture staff there and the professors, I had to see what I can do to get them tickets as well. So um, it worked out. It definitely worked out. So it was a slight of adjustment on that, and just helping me along. I think both programs did that. The architecture program did what they could to help me adjust and maintain my status in terms of graduation. Same thing with the Blue Olson program. They're very good about academics. They want to make sure that
Right.
you're on track to graduate. You're making sure that everything's situated on that part. So they were very helpful in that area.
Yeah, that's an amazing to balance a major that difficult and challenging with a high level basketball program. That's even more impressive. So let's kind of fast forward to how you take that experience balancing, academics and athletics into coaching today. When did you get into coaching? And obviously you did it for the passion and love for the game, but um is that kind of what brought you into the coaching realm?
I think I wasn't really looking to coach, but I knew I had an abundant full of knowledge. A lot of it really from the program down in Tucson, how things are managed, how things are crafted, how practice plans are adjusted, what does it take? Those are some of the, so I think with that, I had that up here. I had that in my mind. So when it came time to start coaching, a lot of it started to unravel in terms of developing a coaching philosophy, because that's really what I was told at one point in terms of basketball and coaching. I was told by one coach, on one end, you're going to have a John Wooden, of the spectrum. And the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have a Bobby Knight. So somewhere in there, Cliff Johns, you're going to fall in there somewhere. You're going to fall in that area somewhere. So that's what you have to find. So those are the things that I was told in terms of adjusting to the coaching realms of things. And I had my first debut in New Mexico at a high school there. We were like a 4A small school going against a high, tall, big 4A schools programs in Farmington, New Mexico. But I was coaching a small community in Shiprock and
Okay.
very young boys, native kids, and being able to develop that. And coming from the bottom of the district seeding number, there's 5 teams in that district. Being seeded fifth all the time. That's where I started, and we really started to implement a lot of changes, and a lot of that really came about. Just a basic understanding of basic transition, boxing out, offensive set, a lot of that. How do you implement a press? You know, like I said, a lot of that unravel from my grad assistant days. Um, because once I finished there, my eligibility down Tucson, I was a grad assistant for 2 to 3 years
Okay.
because I still had a couple more years left to finish my architecture degree program. So I was a grad assistant. So I was at practices. I really got to understand some of the ins and outs of how the programs functions. All that was beneficial, and some of that information I utilized there at the small school in New Mexico. And we you know, started to make a run and really start to develop, and people started to see that. And of course, in about a year and a half, we were district champs and really
Wow.
starting to make a run. So you really start to see that how that really unravels. And just the stuff that I learned, like you mentioned, and applying that to young kids, being able to really challenge them, be able to really motivate them, not only on the court but also off the court, and just trying to really get these young gentlemen to grow up to be young men, and really to be successful at their high school level.
So how did they take that 2 practice per day rule?
That was one of the secrets that I had. Early morning practice, just nothing but shooting. No fundamentals, no really in hard practices, just shooting. I think really connecting the brain to your body that early time in the morning is a crucial thing. And really trying to find that feel and touch, just really light practices, but a lot of shooting. And then, of course, the afternoon, when we get back together and we get into the details of things and kind of how we're going to be strategizing things. And then next morning you do that. I guarantee you guys, first week, it's tough. Second
Yeah.
week becomes better. Third week, they're a whole lot better. And you see that during game times. You see that they're throwing shots up, they're going in. So there you go. It's
Yeah.
it's really just working on that too. So yeah, I mean, it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And change isn't always easy to implement. So I'm sure it wasn't all, warm, welcoming hugs when you got to go get there at, before the crack of dawn and and here's this new coach cracking down the whip. How did they take you in? How did they, adjust to everything that you brought?
I think it's yeah, that I think that's the whole aspect of it, is really to buy in. How are these kids going to buy into this? Is this something that they're going to understand? Is this something that they're going to start to implement? And then you start to look at a lot of their, how their home set is, and you just got to revisit that again. You have to really implement that understanding again, and just really motivating them. Really, start to have them set goals for themselves. What do they want to do? What are they looking for? And just really come at it at that perspective, and have them start to understand it a little more. As they get into it, as they start to move into it, I think, there's a lot of adjustments that they came around. There's a lot of understanding. They got to see that it works. They got to see, wow, I would get parents like, wow, you got my son up early. He's starting to take out the trash. I'm like, oh, okay. So good things come from that. A lot of good
Absolutely.
things come from that. So, I think for them to understand that and, coming down the road, winning ball games, they start to see that. They start to see it works. What's happening. And of course, really, encouraging them, to be their best, encourage them who they are, where they come from, the family that they represent, the community they represent. It's just a lot of that encouragement that has to happen and a lot of motivation that has to occur.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that
Um,
sounds wonderful.
yeah, and I got to witness it firsthand when you were brought in to help with the Northwind team. So Northwind was a travel team that I mentioned earlier. I think what was super impressive and what I know inspired the boys is when somebody that looks like you, that has been through it, that's been through the trials and tribulations, that you can connect with, that you relate with, comes in and impacts your life. It's super powerful. And I saw the boys respond, because I've seen a lot of those boys come up through the ranks and when they saw you, seeing them listen to you and get engaged in your conversations was super impactful. How do you go about motivating them and keeping them going and inspiring these young boys?
You know, they've they've come a long ways. I think when it comes to AAU, they've come a long ways in terms of their progress, their process, their journeys, and where they're looking to go. And I think my task at that time, when Rain, a good relative of mine, Rain Hunani, we had some discussions about that in terms of Northwind and where we want to go and what we want to do. So, and those are the things that we were talking about. I think a lot of these boys have 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 a lot of good progress, a lot of good programs that they came from. But now let's just take it further. Those are the discussions that we had, and I think the whole goal behind that was really getting them exposed, really exposing
Right.
them to college coaches out there, hitting AU tournaments that are NCAA certified, meaning that there's coaches there. There's just coaches that come in and kind of watch games, see games, and that was the whole goal behind that, and be able to really establish that exposure for them. And of course, players like Preston, who's also playing at Haskell right now,
Right.
and he's
Yeah.
really developing, he's really grown, he's really maturing to the game. So um, that coach has been watching him since he's been at Northwind, and those are just some of the processes that took place. And of course, Camden, Seke Abdullah
Right.
down and playing down at Saguaro as well. And also some of the other players, Mitchell as well, and being able to really get these guys prepared, being able to really get these guys to really get to a level of playing abilities and be able to see the other talent out there. That's the whole thing. And that was the whole reason, okay, so we're gonna come off your little high school program. So we're gonna do little things a little different here. And in the AAU circuit, things are different. AAU circuit, things are different from high school. There's a lot of different approaches when it comes to man versus a zone. What's the trend out there? So those are the things that we were getting into, different motion sets and how college coaches, what they look for out there in terms of a motion set. How do they look coming off the dribble? How do they look off coming off the jump shot? A lot of these things I had to kind of mention to these young men. This is what they're going to be looking for. This is what you have to do. A good example is getting to the paint from the 3-point line like in 2 dribbles, being able to jump stop and kick,
Right.
Yeah.
or be able to create. So that's kind of the style now. Dribble, drive, motion, being able to create, and aspects of that, really trying to adjust to that. Really side, the other part of it is really having them see other college players, prospects too, and being able to guard them, being able to play against them is another thing that they really um, learn from too as well. A lot of times I pulled off the bench. I said, "Hey, that guy's going to college. That guy's being looked at that college over there. Who wants to guard him? I need someone to guard him." So
Yeah.
challenges like that, challenges, making them think, making them see that, really, really starts to implement in terms of what the next level is going to look like. By showing them the recipe of what's out there, by showing them the various ingredients of what you can do. Those are a lot of stuff that I shared. Um, and of course, busting out old Coach Olson's plays too. So that
Right.
was some of the things I was able to utilize and being able to share with the kids in terms of how offenses are run, how the whole system's set up. So, and mainly just really a lot of coaches that are looking. What do college coaches look for out there? That's kind of the thing that I was really trying to push. That way they can start to make some adjustments at that level. And but of course, those are some of the things. And of course, my son Kohanon was part of that program there too, Northwind, and he's up at Haskell as well there. Um, my oldest son right now is playing at NTU, so he's playing in his 3rd year there. Played at Pima last year. He's at Yakima, so he's definitely in his journey too as well, trying to find a good place to play and be able to get a lot of exposure too. So, um, then of course my youngest son's in high school at Gallup High, so he wants to follow in the footstep of his brother, but be better, I guess. So,
Right.
Yeah.
those are the
Yeah.
things but overall, that's what we do as coaches, really try to instill in them a good understanding about themselves, their self-motivation, their self-determination, really have that good mindset, have that good work ethic, and also have that good spiritual content within them, and that spirituality. I think those are the 3 things that I was told once upon a time of Jimmy Valvano, one of the great coaches at
Yeah.
NC State. I've mentioned that a lot of times, and he's always mentioned that. That's one of his real golden rule. I think having that good dedication in that sport of basketball, number one. Number two, having that good family support, that can support you, love you, and be there. That's the second part of that. And then the third part is really that spiritual aspect of things, applying it to yourself. And so those are the things that I apply to myself, and that's how I apply it down in my journey too as well. So some of that I share with the young boys in terms of what they want to do, what they're trying to achieve and aspire to as well. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to really inspire the young gentlemen and really really develop them to be good young men in the end.
Wow. That's a lot. I mean, we could sit here and talk more basketball and what have you, but kind of coming to this point in our little show here, and we do the da 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 da, all this great wisdom you passed on to us, and with that, I'll pass it on to Tommy.
Yeah, so at this point in the show, we definitely appreciate all your knowledge and wisdom and sharing that with everybody. But we try to break it down and narrow it to one question, which is super difficult. But I think it's so much more impactful for a player to listen to a coach that's actually been through it. that, that's experienced wins and losses, and successes and failures. What advice do you have for those that are striving to reach their true potential in life?
My advice to them is to keep working hard, um, to really develop that good mindset. Um, I think you starting off at home is really the key component. Starting off at home, your home base. Listen to your mom, listen to your dad, listen to your grandparents, listen to relatives that are there. I think that's the main thing. Once you have that understanding, once you have that discipline there, the responsibilities of what goes on in the home, that carry automatically over to the basketball court, because you're able to adjust, you're able to listen, you're able to do things, but really developing that good mindset there. From there, you're able to um, work out. You're able to get up in the morning. You're able to do what's necessary to make yourself a better player. So really, just really establishing that good understanding behind that. From that, you'll get good work ethic. From that, you'll get a good understanding of self-discipline, self-motivation. You'll have that understanding of what it takes to be a better basketball player. And of course, that carries on the court, that carries on in the academic settings. So establishing that there is really the key component that comes from there. And really instilling that in the young minds, and understanding the reality of things too, when you really get into the hard work aspect of things, that there's a lot of young kids out there that are competing at the same level that you are. And it comes back to you again, because there's a lot of other people working harder than you right now. And you're at home, you're kicking back.
Yeah.
There's like other people are working harder than you. And that's what I tell my AAU boys, during the off seasons. Weekends we come together, I see you play, I evaluate you, observe you, I kind of critique you. So, okay, last game, everyone's done. Everyone's gonna go home on Sundays and they're a little down. I said, look, I want to challenge you. I want to see what you can do. I don't know what you do Monday through Thursday, but that's up to you. I want to see that. And the way I've been looking at it all night, I don't think anyone's doing anything Monday through Thursdays. I mean, they're not in the gym, they're not working out, they're not getting better. But I'll see it on the weekends. I'll see it because I know. So I know what it takes. So if you can do that for me and kind of make that continuous, I guarantee you, don't just show up on the weekends you want to play. Don't do that. I said, work at it. Work, try to get better, try to make yourself a better person, and really work at this game, because this game gets very detailed as you get higher and higher, as you start to really develop that more, it gets really intense. So I try to do that. I try to instill it to young players. So really develop a good work ethic. Really keep pushing themselves. Believe in yourself. Keep doing what you're doing, and really have that faith within yourself.
Excellent.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
Thanks so much for that. Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, I'm just like getting goosebumps and what have you. Because it's you came from a time when '88 everything was changing, the basketball, the whole culture was changing, and you coming in from a cultural aspect and really just kind of bringing that Navajo back to it, and just kind of really weaving it. Just wonderful, beautiful, very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today, Cliff. It really, just an insightful, great conversation. I appreciate it. I wish your team, the best for the remainder of the season. And I follow Preston and the boys, so we'll be rooting them on for sure. So we'll have to get you on again sometime. We really appreciate you
Absolutely,
joining us.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Would love
just
to.
All right. Well, Happy New Year to you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Cliff.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Cliff.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Wow,
Yeah.
Jackie, that was quite the show. What do you think?
It was, right? I think we actually have enough to write a screenplay. and ship it off to somebody. I'm telling you what, that was
Right?
just amazing. I was just sitting there just listening. I'm like, my gosh, this is like, oh yeah, I could see this scene, and then the Lute Olson effect. And yeah, I'm telling you, we
Absolutely.
got a winner here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Somebody's got to make this happen. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
I share to the boys. A lot of
Uh,
it I share with the young men, and of course my children too. So, it's something else. It's something else. So I enjoy it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to
definitely.
get you
Yeah.
back on for
Yeah, we
sure,
got to hear the
right?
rest of it. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to have a part two, maybe a part three to wrap this up. So uh
Yes.
yeah,
Oh, Tommy.
with that with that said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up and wish you happy new year to you. Looking forward to, a bigger and better year for everybody. And Jackie, thanks for
Yeah.
joining and
Yeah, it
getting
was
your first
great.
show out of the way. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't too painful. We made it
No,
through.
no, not too painful at all. This is kind of fun and this excellent. Oh, but
Right.
there's
Well,
things that are happening, right? More coffee
yeah,
and whatnot, but
yeah. So
oh,
in the words of our regular hosts, you don't have to go home.
but you can't stay here.